Hey, before I start this, I just want to say my goal of 1,000 subscribers in just 1 month, it's going super well, and it's all thanks to you. I just need 902 more, and then we reach our goal. So yeah, thank you again, and any support helps. Anyway, let's get into the video. Is the term cringe killing creativity? I think we need to talk about it much more. The fear of being cringe has changed the way people create. It really sucks the way people see it. Being too excited can be cringe, trying too hard can be cringe, having an unusual interest can be cringe, in their opinion. Sometimes it feels like the safest thing you can possibly do is act like you don't care about anything, which is weird because creativity usually comes from the exact opposite. It comes from caring. It comes from having an idea and being willing to take it somewhere. But I think the biggest problem isn't actually the word itself, it's what happens when people start using cringe as a way to control what's socially acceptable. Because once you learn that certain things get you mocked, you naturally start avoiding them. And you don't even have to be told directly. You can watch what happens to other people. Someone posts something unusual and gets made fun of. Someone is extremely passionate about a hobby and gets called weird. Someone makes something that's clearly personal and people turn it into a joke. You watch that enough times and eventually you start thinking that how you'll be perceived before you even do anything. And that can affect creativity in a really subtle way. You might have an idea, but instead of asking whether it's interesting, you ask whether it's acceptable. That's a completely different way of thinking, and I think social media makes this especially obvious. The internet has created this strange environment where everyone is simultaneously a creator and an audience member. You're constantly watching other people make things while imagining how your own work would perform next to theirs. You see someone's artwork get thousands of likes, you see their style become popular, you see people praising their creativity, and without realizing it, you start learning what gets rewarded. That's not necessarily bad. Artists have always studied their other artists. People have always been influenced by what's around them, but online, the feedback is immediate. You can actually see the numbers, and those numbers can start influencing your decisions. Maybe you originally wanted to draw something unusual, then you remember that your last fan art performed much better, so you make more fan art. Then you notice a certain character is trending, so you draw that character. Eventually, you're not necessarily making what you're most interested in, you're making what you know people will recognize. And that's where I think popularity can quietly influence creativity. Not because trends are automatically bad, trends can be fun. Sometimes they introduce people to new ideas. The problem is when trends become the only safe option. If everyone is afraid to experiment outside of what already performs well, eventually everything starts feeling predictable. And that leads into another problem, the pressure of having a good art style. I think a lot of artists are terrified of looking inconsistent. They feel like every piece has to fit the same visual identity. But artists are people. You're allowed to change. It's completely okay to alter the way you work. You're allowed to have a phase where your art looks completely different. If anything, that's normal. But the internet encourages people to build recognizable identities. And once people recognize you for one specific thing, changing becomes risky. Your audience might not like it. The algorithm might not push it. People might ask why your work looks different. So you end up protecting the version of yourself that people already know. And I think that's one reason experimentation can feel so difficult online. There's another part of this I find really interesting. We've become extremely obsessed with looking professional, especially in art. People want their work to look polished. They want clean line work, perfect anatomy, and obviously improving your technical skills is great, but sometimes people become so focused on looking skilled that they stop allowing themselves to be curious. You don't experiment because you don't want to make something ugly. You don't try a new technique because you might mess up. You don't attempt something difficult because the result might look amateur, but an amateur result isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you're trying something you've never done before, you're probably gonna look inexperienced. That's unavoidable. And I think we've created this weird expectation that you're only allowed to show you the finished version of yourself. Nobody wants to be seen, but learning is where creativity actually happens. You need room to make decisions that don't work. You need room to discover what you like. And that brings me to something else. I think we've started confusing embarrassment with failure. They're not the same. You may make something successful and still feel embarrassed showing it to people. You can make something objectively impressive and you still worry that people are going to judge you. Embarrassment is an emotion. It isn't measured of quality, and yet people often treat it like it is. If something makes them uncomfortable, they label it cringe and assume that means there's something inherently wrong with it. But sometimes the discomfort comes from something being unfamiliar, and sometimes it comes from being extremely sincere. And sincerity is probably one of the things that the internet is most uncomfortable with. There's the consistent pressure to be ironic. You can't just like something anymore. You have to joke about liking it. You have to make fun of yourself. You can't just say you're proud of your work. You have to add some kind of joke so nobody thinks you're taking yourself too seriously. And I think irony can be fun. There's nothing wrong with joking about yourself. I do it. But when irony becomes the only acceptable way to express yourself, something gets lost because sincerity is more important. Sometimes you actually mean what you're saying. Sometimes you're really excited. Sometimes you genuinely love what you made. I don't think that's embarrassing. I think it's human. Another thing worth talking about is about how quickly we judge things without understanding them. Online, people rarely have the patience to sit with something unfamiliar. You see a drawing for 2 seconds, you decide it's weird, then hate on it. Like, are we serious right now? It's okay if you don't like it, but genuinely hating it and calling it cringe is just stupid. And this doesn't go for problematic art. Problematic art will always be horrible. When you really think of it, what even is cringe? Who decides what's cringe or not? It doesn't make any sense. Creativity isn't supposed to be predictable. Art isn't just about the final result, it's about the journey. And if you don't care about that, then where's the fun? Sometimes the artist doesn't even fully understand what they're making until they're halfway through it. That's part of the process. You start with one idea and then a new one pops in your head and then you change it. You make a mistake and realize you like it. You try something accidentally and discover a new technique. That kind of discovery is difficult when you're constantly asking whether the result will look acceptable. In my opinion, calling someone cringe is just humiliation disguised as a joke. If you're gonna criticize someone's creativity, actually give them something useful. Only if they ask for criticism, of course. You don't have to destroy someone's confidence just because you don't like their work, and I think creators need to do the same thing for themselves. You don't need to love everything you've made. Some of it will be bad, some of it will be unfinished, some of it will be embarrassing, but eventually you'll become good at it, and that's normal. Your creative history is allowed to be messy. In fact, I think it should be. If you look back at everything you've ever created and think it's all perfect, you probably haven't changed very much. The awkward phases matter, the experiments matter, the weird ideas matter. Even the things you eventually abandon can teach you something. So is the word cringe actually killing creativity? In my opinion, yes it does. I really feel like it just tries to put people in the same box, which it doesn't help them with thinking outside of the box. Because most of social media is an environment where people are terrified as being perceived as embarrassing. Once people become more concerned with looking cool than exploring ideas, creativity gets smaller. You start seeing less experimentation, less personality. More people try to figure out what everyone else wants before they decide what they want. And I don't think that's where creativity should go. And you shouldn't have to pretend you don't care. At the end of the day, to be cringe is to be free. But hey, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think, and I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you did enjoy this video, can you possibly consider subscribing, liking, or sharing? Oh my gosh, it will help out so much. Anyway, have a beautiful day and goodbye!